When I think about Washington and Seattle, you think fairly progressive, but homelessness, affordable housing, it's kind of what Bernie's talking about. A lot of progressive candidates are talking about gentrification. Seattle's kind of a nucleus for all of these things.
So we all know how fast the Seattle skyline is changing. There is record growth downtown, but one new developer coming to town, and many feel he will help transform this city.
But to truly understand exactly what's happening here, you have to travel to Vancouver, Canada.
We are here on East Hastings Street in Vancouver, BC, and I honestly have never seen anything like this. The whole street is just lined with people who I have to assume are homeless.
There's thousands of people on the street here. It's a terrible situation. Like, a lot of these hotels have been condemned too, at least several of them on this block. So there are thousands of people right now on the streets. If you come here at night, all the doorways will be filled with people sleeping. The alleys, the people are everywhere, particularly in this neighborhood. And the middle class people don't seem to realize what's going on. They seem to think that everyone on the streets is mentally ill or drug addicted, and that's just not the case. I mean, it just happens that there's no income. If you're poor, you cannot afford to find a house. There's a certain amount of those, and once they're full, there's nowhere to go if you don't have any money. The government is building a bunch of what they call modular houses. They're made from those shipping containers. They're making over 1,000 of those, and even that is only just going to barely touch the problem. They estimate that there's at least 3,000 or 4,000 people on the street, and I think it's probably more than that.
There's construction going on all the time, and there's nice housing and everything like that. However, it's just not affordable, right? So I think that's got an issue with being able to afford it, right? They need to be able to build affordable SROs. So they got to build, like the mayor was saying, he wants to give the opportunity for people to have proper housing, and I think that's a lot to do with it. Being able to have affordable housing, that's it.
Well, do you, you said that you only earn so much. What kind of work do you do?
I'm in construction. I only make $2,000 a week.
Is that enough for a living wage here in Vancouver?
Just because you have the money does not mean you have housing.
That's what we hear from a lot of people, that they work full time.
Because I have the money does not mean I get the housing. Because there's a lot of scrutiny about who comes in and that stuff like this. I mean, come on. I just want to have housing.
Do you currently?
I sleep on the sidewalk every fucking night. I'm sorry for the swearing, but I sleep on a sidewalk every night, but I work every day and I make my money, but I still cannot get housing. And I don't know why that is.
What do you want people to know about people like you who work full time, yet you still have to sleep on the sidewalk? What do you want the government to know and the people to know?
I just would like to have the affordability of getting into housing, right? When they build new projects and they have new projects and they still have housing, let it be available for us.
You've got at least 5,000 people living on the streets, homeless. Right? Now, as you can tell when you walk down Hastings, this entire street is a market. This is one of the few ways that a lot of people make their income, right? By buying and selling wares, some of them used, some of them not. A lot of the merchandise you get down here is actually stolen, right? Most companies are insured for their losses, but it's a major problem here in the city as well. But we're not offered a whole lot of choices. There's not a lot of job options. We get temp agencies that gouge us, so you can never make enough money to get up and off the streets. An assistance, do you know what the average assistance? They give you $375 for living. $335. I'm on disability. Luckily, I've got one of our new modulars, which is a great program we've got in the city, and they should push that much more everywhere else. It's basically just modular buildings. They throw them up. They're temporary. Like the one I was in up until a week ago and I got removed was right in the parking lot of one of our SkyTrains, right? Just in a vacant parking lot. They hook up the water right out of the hydrant. Bam, there we go. That's our housing. Now these modular buildings, they're not built to last, but you know, it's the same as any work camp, right? But they're great. This is a major epidemic in our city right here. This is fentanyl, okay? This, in the last 2 years, has killed off most of the homeless population in Vancouver. Like this street right now, compared to 2 years ago, every single bit of the sidewalk would be coated like this here. But the problem is that people aren't getting housing or people aren't moving on in life. They're being killed off.
Check this out. This morning I woke up and I came out and I was walking here about 7 a.m. and they were wrapping up a dead body here and throwing him in a hearse, and I witnessed it this morning. If you heard about that at all?
Today I was on an interview it's basically a clean use facility, right? Which the city needs more of, but they make it so hard for these people to, a safe injection site. They make it so hard for them to be opened up, for the societies to do them. And they save lives. And not only that, but they offer employment to drug users and addicts. That's pretty much a prerequisite to work there, is you must have had a history of being on the streets, a history of drug use, right? Last year they had a record low for drug bust because they realized the war on drugs was lost years ago, right? What we need to be doing now is we need to be offering counseling, right? We need to be looking at recovery. We don't need to be looking at putting people in cells over it. We need to be looking at putting people in proper housing, getting them mental health.
Treatment.
Passed away last night, a young guy. He was between 35 and 45, and he had a nice haircut and a nice pair of shoes, and he was somebody's child. And he died right out front, just down the street from here. And it's just really sad because we just are experiencing so many deaths down here. And it's just, you know, you come in on a Monday morning and that's like what you see. And then you hear about people who have died that you've known for a long time in this community, and it's just sad, really sad. It's hard to even fathom like what people are going through down here. Just because it's like a war zone in terms of like losing friends, people that you know, people that you spent time with, and you know, people you never thought would ever die under any circumstances, let alone, and young people and old people and people using like different kinds of drugs, you know, that don't normally use, you know, fentanyl or down or whatever, and like it's just mixed up in their drugs. And so yeah, so here we're a overdose prevention site. We started in 2016 in the alley. There was a lot of overdoses happening. So there's a lot of overdoses happening in the area, and there was nowhere for anyone to go. And people were coming to, there's a market next door to here that's like an outside market for people who bring like used items, and they buy, sell, and trade things. And it's a really cool market, but people would run to the market and say, oh, there's an overdose. So we were running all over this block, just dealing with all the overdoses instead of dealing with the market. So we just set up a little space in the back of this place where people could come and we'd watch them use under a tent. And it sort of, we did a GoFundMe page, we raised some money, and then people were coming to see us. They were smoking and injecting every kind of drugs. And we were just having so many overdoses and dealing with so many overdoses and saving so many lives at the same time that the local government and the provincial government, you know, said, yeah, okay, what you're doing is good. And we got a lot of support from GoFundMe in the community that they funded this site and a bunch of other ones to open up. And so we continue to save lives here every day. And we see up to about 600-700 people here every day.
I've heard that a lot, that so much foreign money and businesses have come in and bought up all the housing, leaving people unable to even buy a house or rent.
Exactly. With our own government has turned their blind eye to this. These I think it could even be a criminal offense to not to turn their backs on people or population, and in order to make a dollar out of foreign money is inconceivable in my mind, and criminal, and they get away with it. No one's held accountable, and people like myself, for example, is a native to Canada, born here, and I'm priced out of the opportunity to own a house before I was even born, and that's the way of my whole entire life. No roof over my head yet, and the cost of living so high. Yet all these other people from different parts of the world where the money is, I don't even know if it's even real money, because their governments just say their money's worth so much.
What you said is so interesting, that you were priced out of buying a house even before you were born. So it's like people don't even have a chance.
Not even a chance, not even an opportunity. And I'm upset about it. And it seems like there's somebody some people are sympathetic to our cause and trying to help, but it's so too little too late. And the problem's a lot bigger than they say it is.
Hey, it's Jordan. I'm here at the Trolls Knoll in Encampment, I guess because it's on a little grassy knoll, and it's pretty jarring. I mean, I guess it's not jarring to you because you see it too much, but this basic little tent city is right next to just really nice new apartments in a really nice area of Seattle. So Matthew, you do a lot of work with these kind of encampments and trying to help alleviate some of this. I mean, the numbers are pretty staggering with homelessness in Seattle. I think a Guardian story I just read said like over 4,000 public school children are homeless or couch surfing or whatever. Can you kind of talk about your involvement with this encampment?
Yeah, well, first of all, the statistic that we're talking about for the 4,000 Seattle public school students, that only counts people who are not necessarily doubled up or living on a couch. Those are homeless children. So they're living in a car, they're living in a camp or in a shelter. So just wanted to make that quick distinction. As far as this work goes, I've been helping in camps for about 2 years now. It's hard because we did a lot of work last year around, there was a tax on big business that we were trying to pass, the head tax, and there was a lot of work around homelessness going there. And in a lot of ways, a lot of folks are really hard hit by homelessness as a crisis. You know, there's poverty like literally in the streets. You've got your luxury condo across the way from people living in tents, and there's this huge wealth disparity that's happening. As far as the sweeps go, I think it is a response to the camps that is inappropriate.
When you say sweeps, just the city's coming in, basically evicting people.
Right. So, when I'm talking to the city, I make very sure to call it an eviction, because right now in Washington State and the city of Seattle, we're doing a lot of great work on eviction reform, and we've highlighted some great places. There's a study called Losing Home that was done by the Seattle Women's Commission and the King County Bar Association. They came out a couple months ago that showed that so many people that are coming straight out of evictions are ending up right on the street, and then finding themselves in cycles of chronic homelessness. So when I say sweeps, I mean encampment removals. The city calls them encampment cleanups, as if it were just a bunch of garbage that needed to be swept along. Like I said, I prefer evictions myself, because that's really what it is. I had a bout with living in my car in and out for about 2 years right out of college, and I did sometimes have housing, but I was evicted twice in that period. And when I see the city's notice come up for these encampment removals, I really see it kind of the way I felt in those times that I was evicted.
It just sucks because like we finally like gathered enough stuff and got enough things to where we've accumulated some nice things. We have like a little home set up, but now we're having to tear it all down. And the biggest hassle is now that I have all this stuff accumulated and I have some nice things, you know, between me and my girlfriend, so where are we going to put it? How are we going to get it from here to another spot without other people stealing it? You know what I mean? Where are we going to set up? Is the spot that we set up in going to get, you know, are we going to get told to leave in a half hour's notice like we did at Green Lake, or, you know, a week out from now are they going to come and, you know, sweep us again? And it's just a struggle because we don't know exactly where to go. If we knew where we could go and set up and have some ground rules established, you know what I mean, and some criteria to follow, then, you know, we'd like set a standard, then we could, you know, set that goal and, you know, try and maintain a little community there. But it's just a struggle because, you know, it's one thing for us to try and police our own stuff, but when we don't have anywhere for sure, you know what I mean, people can say, oh, well, screw you, you know, you don't own this area, you can't tell us how to do, yada, yada, yada. And so it's just a pain.
Do you feel like the city of Seattle or the state are trying to actually help folks like you, or just kind of get rid of homeless people?
Honestly, I feel like they're just trying to corral us in spots where they don't have to see us, or you know, throw us in jail if they can for whatever reason. You know, I think local law enforcement looks for whatever excuses they can to kind of throw us in jail, you know, and to get us out of the way. And the rest of us, you know, they just kind of corral the different spots, you know, where people don't have to deal with them. Yeah. You know. And,
so you've been in a couple other spots too, or this was your first spot in Seattle?
This is the second spot I was at. Initially I was at Green Lake. I was right on the water, and nobody had hassled us. We kept it really clean and everything. There was like zero garbage. It was just my girlfriend, myself, in our smaller tent. But one day they showed up. Everybody was putting bags out in front of our place. They said, you have a half hour to be out of here, or we're going to basically sick the cops on you. And there was 2 squad cars, and the cops were just kind of sitting at bay waiting for us to not move along quick enough, and then they were going to sick the cops on us.
Other people you spoke to that are in your situation, other homeless people, are people like willing to work if they could find a place to live? Are they willing to kind of like do things in the community? Because it seems like it's not, for the most part, people unwilling to work or do things. They just can't afford to live anywhere.
Right, yeah, no, a lot of us are willing to work. I mean, I myself, there's a gentleman 2 blocks over, and I've done his brakes on his van. I've changed his oil. I tuned up his van and changed all the spark plugs on it for him. My buddy's actually a mechanic too, and like we do odd jobs for people in the neighborhood. I mean, if we can find them that are willing to deal with us, you know. So it's not that we don't want to work. One of the factors is I don't want to go out and look for a job and then, you know, come back and realize that, hey, in a half hour I had to have all my stuff and be gone again, you know. It's kind of difficult, you know, if you don't know where you can be at night, to go out and go seek work in the morning when you don't know if your spot's going to be available for you to go back to sleep to when you get home, you know.
Yeah. And it's got to be hard, like psychologically, because like you finally feel like you have some stability here. Yeah. And then you find out, and you kind of like make a little home. You were showing me like you got a nice little sky view through the tent, but then like the city's coming to sweep you up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just difficult because like we've tried to keep it clean. We've tried to keep people that are being a nuisance and being rude and like obnoxious to the community out. And it doesn't, I almost feel like it doesn't matter how much we've policed ourselves out here, that they're still wanting us to go anyway. You know what I mean? No matter how good we were or how much we didn't do the things that they don't want going on, that it doesn't matter, that it's just an eyesore and they want us out of here.
Would you have a message? Because obviously, you know, Jeff Bezos and Amazon, there was efforts by the city to put a employer tax where companies like Amazon would have to pay a little bit more, and that money would go towards, in large part, the homeless issue and trying to get people more housing. They fought like hell against that, Amazon. You got a message for Mr. Bezos or Amazon as far as seems to be a real indifference to people like you and your struggle?
Yeah, he's not going to waste any energy on us. I'm not going to waste any energy on him to even say anything.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.